Well, I'm super excited once again to invite my mom as my guest today on the Fearlessly Curious podcast, your safe space to listen, lean in, and learn the diversity of human experiences through the lens of fearless curiosity. I thought it would be such a benefit to all the people out there who identify as a woman. And if you want to know how to support women in the aging process and how to navigate the aging process in terms of a mental, physical, emotional, and possibly even spiritual level. So first of all, Mom, thank you so much for joining me again. You were an amazing guest when we had the conversation about navigating generational differences and family values, and we've had such an amazing response. I had to invite you back. So thank you for joining us.
I'm very happy to be back, Melissa.
So, Mom, as a grand octogenarian, I would love to know what great advice or great wisdom you could share with women listening and all the people out there supporting women, what it is like to navigate the aging process.
Growing old is something inevitable. Everybody has to take that route. So I guess we will try to take it graciously. But so most important, I think, is we must have good health. When we have good health, and I think it radiates, we will also look good. Some of us may have more gray hair than others, which isn't a bad thing. It's better to have more gray hair than to have no hair at all. Many of us would have lost a lot of hair. But living in this modern age, there are so many things that can help to make us look better, feel better about ourselves. This is a very personal thing. Some people do not want to help themselves to look, or with any aids. When I say aids, I mean dye your hair, put on a little hairpiece. Some people even go to the extension of having plastic surgery. I personally do not subscribe to that, but to each his own. If you feel happy about yourself doing that, why not? You know?
Thank you, Mom. I'd just like to delve a bit deeper with you on that. When you talk about physical health is very important, and that when we're healthy on the inside, that radiates outwardly. How do you maintain good physical health? What is important to you, and what would you recommend to women in the aging process from your own personal experience?
Well, I'm quite a lazy person, actually. I do not like to do exercise. I prefer to play games. But of course, as you grow older, you don't have the energy or to run and play games can be quite dangerous. You can trip and fall. So I think the best exercise would be walking, swimming if you can, and just a free hand exercise, just stretching. And now I've been looking at a lot of these health apps, and I've been looking at a lot from this Chinese sensei, and they're telling us how to pet certain points of your body. It connects to certain organs, how to strengthen your heart, or your liver, your pancreas, or your brain, your eyesight, your hearing. So I've been trying to do all that, trying to touch all those important points. So I try to do that. At one point, I was persuaded to have a personal trainer by my son, who insisted on getting me a personal trainer. I was quite resistant to that idea, but actually it wasn't so bad. It's actually quite nice. Well, I did it regularly for maybe 2 years, and then we had a pandemic. And my eldest daughter, to Marina, she also recorded an app for me that I could refer to that app and do the exercise on my own, which is for cardio, more for cardio. because she says just walking and swimming, all this slow exercise or different things, stretching. This is for cardio. I need to work my heart. So I've tried that. And I quite enjoy it because I play to my kind of music, which is ABBA's, ABBA songs, which is a lovely beat. So I can dance with it, dance along with it. Can be quite enjoyable. I can do it on my own, in my own place. So if I'm too lazy to go to the gym, I used to have a treadmill when I lived in a house, but now that I moved to an apartment, we don't have a treadmill in my place, but we have a gym in the apartment, which is also a very useful thing for me to have. So try to do some form of exercise.
That's awesome. So your apartment complex has a gym which you have access to, and how wonderful to have access to these resources. But what I'm hearing is that when you want something enough, when we have enough of an interest, when we can appreciate our physical health, that we'll go to any extent to access the resources that are always available to us at any level, right? Like you're using YouTube to follow these videos.
Oh, before I forget, you don't not only need to exercise physically, you need to exercise your brain mentally. I keep myself mentally active by doing crosswords. I love crosswords, Sudoku, yes, which is also very challenging, and play mahjong.
Oh,
it's a most fascinating game.
Please tell us a little bit about the game mahjong, mahjong, mahjong.
Oh, this is a game invented by the Chinese. It's so clever because there are so many ways of playing this game. Yeah. Now I can see a lot of Westerners have taken this game up and they have their own version. Basically, it's the same, but different ways to approach it. And it's a very challenging game, I don't play bridge, so they say it's a little bit like bridge. I don't know how to compare, but I just love mahjong. In most every Chinese house, the children will play mahjong because all the parents, Chinese New Year, it's not a Chinese New Year passes without mahjong and the noise of the tiles hitting on a mahjong table.
So for those people who are listening right now, our listeners, our community who are listening, not everybody will know what exactly mahjong is. And I'm going to invite you to share a little bit more. But before that, I just want to let everybody know one of my fondest memories of being in the lockdown, actually, of 2020, the global lockdown where I was in Malaysia at the time. And at the time when we were allowed to socialize with the people within our bubble, I was able to be with my mom and also my sister and my niece who had flown back from the UK. We were all in the bubble in Malaysia. And my mom introduced mahjong to us again. So the four of us, she taught us, the four of us sat down and we had many mahjong sessions and it was so much fun. So first of all, you mentioned the tiles. Can you, because obviously this is an audio app, Mom, for those people who are listening only to audio, what are the mahjong tiles? Could you describe a little bit about what the tiles are, what are on the tiles? Because you mentioned bridge, but not everybody here will even know the game bridge.
Well, how do I describe the tiles? You want me to describe the tiles?
Yeah, okay, maybe I'll help. So mahjong tiles. So normally we play cards. We have a deck of cards that are pieces of paper that have a cardboard, so they're a bit stronger. With mahjong, we play with tiles. So you imagine rectangular, three-dimensional rectangular bricks, actually, the shape of mini bricks, maybe the length of your thumb, maybe the width of half your thumb, and not typically. I think back in the day, historically, what were they made of historically, Mom?
I think they made them out of bamboo,
Wow.
Yes. And then they carved the characters onto the face.
Okay.
So there'll be like 4 different suits, one suit of bamboo, one suit of circles, one suit of characters, Chinese characters, numbering 1 to 9.
Okay.
And then you have the winds, which is north, east, southwest.
I see. And
then you have the 3 big dragons, the red dragon, the green, and the white. And these are all, what shall I say, important cards to have.
Okay. So
And then you collect the suits and build along. I mean, it'll take me many more days to describe to you how to play.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But you've described the basis of it. Like there's a suit of cards, different suits. Then you have your wins, and you have like your trump cards, which are the highly valuable cards. And I would say, with my limited knowledge, it reminds me a little bit of the game Gin Rummy.
Yes.
It's about building different types of collections, whether it's the same suit or whether it's the same number. But it has its own rules. But what is the purpose of the game? I mean, apart from winning, obviously, how does one win the game?
To mahjong means to win the game, you need to have a pair.
Okay.
You need to have suits 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7, 8, or 3 of a kind, and just collect this together. There are so many ways. I mean, it's impossible to describe.
No problem, Mom.
So
but that's what you're saying, because there's so many ways. It's a game of strategy.
Yeah, it is a game of strategy. Before, we used to play with 13 tiles. Now, to make it more complicated, we play with 16 tiles. 16 tiles. So it's much more intriguing and much more challenging. And you try to control the other person's play. Do not give them what you think they need. You see? And you try and draw the card and build your own suit, and do not let people know what you're collecting.
Right.
Yeah, that's the strategy.
Okay. I can see that it brings you so much joy. What is your most favorite part of the game, or favorite reason? What is your strongest reason to play? How does it fill you up?
What is my strongest reason to play?
Yes. Why do you love it so much? What is it about this game?
It's very challenging. It makes me think, and it helps me to pass the time.
Okay.
It's a great help for you if you have a lot of time on your hands, a few hours of the day. You socialize with friends. We have lunch first and then meet in a friend's house or in my house or whatever. We play, say, if we start at, say, 2 o'clock, we will stop at 4 for a cup of tea, for a break, and a little bit of cake or whatever, and chit chat, and then we continue, and maybe we stop at 6 or 6:30, and everybody goes home. And we try to get the games in twice a week.
Okay.
Meet with different groups,
So it's very social. It's a wonderful way to hang out with people and be sociable, but it also gets you to use your brain in a very strategic way. And I'm guessing when you play with different people bring a different personal strategy to the game. And so you're always on your toes.
Actually, when we become so sociable, because some of our friends, we have quite big houses, so we can have like 2 or 3 sets of mahjong in the same house. So everybody brings something for tea. So there'll be like maybe 8 or 12 ladies, sometimes 4 to a table. Mm-hmm. And then we will all stop, everybody have tea, have a chit chat, and then we change partners sometimes, different days we play with another group. So it's a fun, a nice way for, I think, for the older ladies who have children all grown up and, all left their home, and some of us are widows. So it's a good way to spend our time.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing mahjong up and bringing the fact that what we need to take care of in the aging process as women is also our mental health, our mental agility, and playing games. In your case, mahjong not only helps to keep your mind agile and fresh, but it also fills the void, the potential void of loneliness, like it's social, right? And gives you an opportunity to also meet new people and diversify your social circle, but through gaming. I suppose the younger generation do it online, but as we get older, actually, what's important for our emotional well-being is keeping social, is connection ultimately. So inadvertently, Mom, that was going to be my next question, which is, what is an important practice in the aging process to nourish our emotional well-being? And I think mahjong probably does that for you too. Is there anything else that you practice that also helps with maintaining your emotional wellness as you're navigating the aging process?
Oh, indeed, indeed. Music plays a big part in my life. I love to listen to music. I tinker on the piano myself, just to amuse myself. I can play enough songs that I can amuse myself. I can read some notes, and sometimes I play by ear. I enjoy myself. I can spend 1 or 2 hours on the piano. And for others, they might like gardening. Some others might like sewing, because I have a friend who sews beautifully, and she sews for her grandchildren, all her grandchildren's night clothes. And I have another friend who has a beautiful garden, and she tends to the flowers herself. And art, some people can paint, so there are many different ways to amuse yourself. You need to take up some form of hobby, or learn a language, a new language, or learn a new instrument, or read a book, photography, travel. I mean, I love to travel, but now traveling is becoming a bit more cumbersome for us. We need to travel with someone, because, our faculties are not perfect, don't hear well, don't see well, and lose a little bit of confidence, and not so be able to walk so fast, So just keep yourself active. And I'm lucky enough to have very good children who encourage me to do all these, and they're there if I need them. I'm very thankful for this.
Thank you for sharing, Mom. I think that's so important for people to hear, for women to hear, and for the support groups, the support system of women to hear, that to be encouraged is such an important aspect of the aging process. As we lose the agility of our faculties meaning our mobility, our eyesight, our hearing, right? We require a little bit more assistance. And I would say that typically women are not great at asking for help. And so when someone can offer the assistance, that bridges the gap of the struggle of asking for help. Mentioning about being curious to explore your different interests, like you didn't mention baking, but you mentioned photography, like pick up something, play an instrument, painting, the creative arts, sewing. And I would add baking, right? Cooking for your family, cooking for your friends, because I think something else, so one more layer. We talked about physical health, mental health, emotional health in the aging process, and spiritual connection for me is very much connected to being in service, doing things for others, because as we age, at least I can speak from my perspective at the moment, and I'm in the earlier part of my aging process. Well, we're all aging. I can imagine that as our children or your grandchildren or the younger people around you become more independent and are off there leading their own lives, that one can feel that you no longer have a purpose as you're getting older. And we forget that we can still serve. We just serve different people. What are your thoughts around spiritual growth as you're navigating the aging process, Mom? What are your thoughts around spiritual connection?
Oh, I find that many ladies become more religious as they grow older.
I see.
But for me, I like to be more spiritual, Melissa, as you said. Be of service to others and to your own family, to your own household, your own people who serve you. Whatever we can do to help others, yes. I do pray, to God, to some being up there, at least twice a day, in the morning when I wake up and before I go to sleep. And also before big festivals or when I'm family gatherings, say a prayer of thanks for all these wonderful blessings that we're so lucky to have. We want to be connected with God, and it's not just talking about it. You live your life to show that you care, compassion and help. We can.
Thank you. I love that you mentioned that, at least from your personal experience, that as we get older, many people turn to religion. And, just for context, there's no judgment here. I think often people turn to religion because, well, like I mentioned, as we transition through life, people become less dependent on us and we start to question our purpose as we're evolving and moving through life. And that spiritual connection and having the structure of religion, because ultimately, whatever religion it is that you subscribe to, it's all about contemplation and asking yourself, ultimately, what is your purpose now at this stage of your life? So thank you for sharing, what some of your spiritual practices are. What would be one final piece of, I don't want to say advice, but a golden nugget of wisdom that you would give women in particular, as they navigate the different aging decades of life? I'm like approaching my 50 mark, Mom, and you are now in your mid 80s, right? How incredible. Like this last 35 years since you turned 50, what would be one, and I know I'm possibly making it hard because to ask you for one thing, but what would you summarize, what bit of wisdom that you could offer us?
Do not be afraid to grow old. Grow old gracefully. And I think we've earned all these years, we become much wiser and we can handle situations much better. I'm very pleased with the way that, I'm trying to grow old. And do not be afraid, just accept it gracefully and thank God. And be happy with your family, most of all your family. If you have happy family, everything else falls into place. So
thank you once again, Mom, for gracing not just me but all the listeners with your presence and with your time and with your very open and generous heart and wisdom. I'm definitely going to be calling you for more episodes. Thank you, Mom. See you on the next episode.
You're welcome.